No, aloha everyone, Joshua Hayes at BigWaveTrading.com. All right, well, hey, am I living in Groundhog Day? By the way, oddly enough, that was one of my favorite movies growing up. I don't know how old I was, 12 or 13, but little did I know it was going to become my life in the new stock market that we're in. And what do I mean by that? I mean the V-shaped moves. They just don't stop. We've been in a V-shaped moving market ever since the 2018 highs. You can see on the SPY chart the V-shaped moves that have existed throughout this entire 2018 and 19 pseudo uptrend that we saw in the SPY, not confirmed, by the way, in the IWM, which was actually telling the entire truth before this massive crash in the market. And there was only one trusty indicator that would have kept me on the completely right side of the market and kept me keeping everything in perspective had I listened to it, because it was telling the truth. And that's this one right here. My TSV 2412 on a monthly time frame, which, as you will see here, once again, never once ever confirmed that move in the SPY by having a negative lead line below the signal line the entire time since it crossed in the middle of 2018 in the IWM, and ever since it crossed in the rest of the indices sometime around September, October, but in every single one. Not one of these indices saw that line cross back up, confirm that move higher in the market. We got our crash. So this video lesson actually is going to be more focused on these lines, the PPO and the histogram and the TSV, including the squeeze. We'll throw that in there because a new member at BigWaveTrading.com has asked me exactly how I use this line. Well, this is not a standalone line that I use to initiate positions. If I get good setups, let's go back and review ZM, the last quality long setup. This thing did a hammer candle over candle up and through the 21 and 9 EMAs on heavier above average volume while it was in its tightest squeeze, that yellow dot. And even though TSV and PPO was negative, if you notice, I didn't care. At least it's above the zero line, which indicates that the pullback is, while the market and the stock is bullish, I had my proper 3-to-1. This is the 1, the risk. This is the greater than 3 reward ratio. And ZM continues to work. Now, unfortunately, because of the way Interactive Brokers is not working currently, for the past 5 years, I've been able to set up sell stops and sell limit orders and bracket my positions and either take profits or have the stops hit. Now, before, when the stops would hit on the way down, if I tiered my stops and they hit on the way down, once I had more stops hit share size than what I actually had, it would cancel my limit orders. That's no longer happening at Interactive Brokers, and I got to figure out what's going on there. So right now, I can only hold stop orders. Since that's the case, and the only long signals I'm getting lately are in speculative names, I only have one speculative long position and one hedge. That hedge, I believe I gave out publicly last week. That did trigger and fill, and I still have that. And we'll go ahead and go through that in this video lesson. I only had 2 stops. First stop, final stop. Right now, as you can see, once it triggered and filled, nothing is needed to be changed. So I have 50% of my good to cancel sell stops, 1 cent below the 15th slow a day, and I have the final 50 cents, or 50%, 1 cent below the 414 low a day. But besides that, there really isn't nothing doing, and that's because things are not currently lined up. But this video lesson, what I want to go over is how I use these indicators. So first off, the most important technical indicator I use is the squeeze indicator. The best times that I like to go long something is whenever this TTM squeeze momentum line turns from red, orange, pink, whatever this is, to blue. Once it turns to blue, if I'm in a squeeze, I want to go long. Now you will notice the SPY did that. Now where do you look to do an entry? Off the 9 and 21 EMA. Did the SPY ever touch the 9 or 21 EMA since that happened? No. So this recent move in the market, guess who doesn't get to participate in it? Me. Now that being said, what confirmed that earlier? The TSV and PPO. You can see that during the downtrend on a daily, they were below the signal line. The lead line was below the signal line. They both cross here. Now, once again, where's your entry once these cross? If you're trading the indices, it's on a pullback off the 9 EMA. It did straddle the 9 EMA, but then look at the gap down below. And this is what I was worried about. And this is what I was looking for, a retest of the lows. However, once we get back above it, we never touched that 9 and 21 EMA. So this is not a market that I can find an entry on with the SPY in the most short term. Now, with that being said, right now, the signal line on a daily basis of the TSV is below the 0 line. The PPO signal line is below the 0 line. This currently indicates on the shortest term that this is a bear market bounce only on the shortest term. It's bullish within the downtrend, and it has worked on both of these, even though I can't find an entry, for me personally, in the market. You could always, once you get these crosses, listen, there is something in hindsight that I could have done, but with the elevated implied volatility, I just didn't do it. You can always sell put spreads. So it's a credit spread. What you do is you would, for instance, you would buy a put option, let's say at 218, and you would cover it by selling a 216, and that would protect you if the SPY did roll over. But you could sell that credit spread, and as it rallied, I normally take profits around 50 to 66% once we get that gain. So you could have done that. But right now, on the shortest term in the SPY, it's indicating we've got a bear market bounce. Once the signal line gets above the 0 line, then it's indicative that you're back in an uptrending market on the short term and that you can buy pullbacks. So with the SPY, let's stick with the SPY right now, and now let's look at the others. The DIA. The DIA, same thing happened here. The PPO and TSV crossed above its signal line, indicating the momentum has changed in the short term. We get that squeeze, and then it goes bullish here. But once again, does it ever touch the 9 and 21? Not until Thursday. And we still technically didn't even touch the 9 EMA. The problem with getting long here is what you don't see drawn because I erased them all is that we're running into tons of areas of resistance. And I'll just go and show them on the Dow Jones chart. We have this price support resistance, or resistance here. We got that price level as resistance there. And then, of course, we have those highs here. We can also do a Fibonacci retracement of the highs to the lows and see that we still have that 62% level that's lined up right with that horizontal resistance line, which happens to be right above the 50 simple moving average. Then you have the 100 and 200. This goes for almost all of the indices. You can replace the DIA with the SPY, and you basically have the same thing. It's all very similar. But the point is, on a daily basis, the signal line's still below the 0 line, so I still consider this a bear market bounce. The volume doesn't help tell me that, oh, yeah, no, I'm wrong about that. Hey, this all showed back up again on the SPY. I forgot that I drew those. On the bottom line, this is showing you all the areas of support. We can now expect to support. And the circles here show the gap areas that the SPY might want to fill because the market loves to fill gaps. And then if we go look at the QQQ, this is the one positive. Hold on. First, let's do the IWM. You can see that the signal line is still below the 0, 0. Same setup there. Now, the good news in all of this is the QQQ. The signal line is back above the 0. This signal line's back above the 0. So technically, the QQQ is in a really good position. We'll see if it continues to lead. Earnings are next week. That horizontal line is going to be a major area of resistance. This recent high right there. And if I do a Fibonacci retracement, I really wish I could do the Fibonacci symmetries on Telechart. Just can't. You can see it's above them all. So all of these levels are now support levels. And then you can also do another Fibonacci for support lows and everything from here to even these highs, and look at all these areas that could be considered support levels. That being said, some major resistance ahead still on the QQQ, so I'm going to go ahead and erase everything. But I tell you what, short term, that's pretty bullish. We're above all these moving averages. We have all of those Fibonacci support levels. We get back above these highs. I say these highs can be challenged, and I would just love some consolidation, and then I'll probably get some great patterns. But right now, they're just not out there. But the QQQ, that's a strong, solid position it is in. So with all that out of the way, let's now go out to my next higher time frame, the weekly. And let's analyze everything on a weekly. On a QQQ, you can see, hey, signal line is still above the zero line, which indicated that on a weekly basis, that was a bullish pullback in an overall uptrend. The problem is, which is showing the problem with this overall market right now, nothing is in alignment. There are mixed signals everywhere. The lead line is still below the signal line here. The lead line is below the signal line here. And the signal line on both the PPO and TSV are trending lower. The histogram is also negative, but it is moving up. And you can see the TTM Squeeze momentum overall is still bearish. Now, as we look at the rest of these, you'll see the same thing. IWM is the worst of them all. This is just a weekly. PPO signal line and TSV line, both below zero. Lead line still well below it. And the TTM momentum is very ugly. And on a weekly, you can see the 50-week, that's the 9 EMA on the weekly, the 21, and this is the 50, 100, and 200 on a weekly. They're still all overhead, just like on the SPY. Forgot to show that with the SPY on the weekly. Want to erase everything. We still have right here at the 100 weekly, we have the 21 EMA weekly and the 50 weekly right there. The good news is we are back above the 200 weekly. That's a really good sign. But until we get back, now that we've retaken the 200, I need to see us get back above the 50 before I can flip the script on the SPY. The QQQ, like I said, negative, negative, IWM negative, SPY negative, DIA. We're still above the zero line here, but look, we're below the zero line there. Lead line below both signal lines, negative histogram, negative histogram. So on a weekly basis, there's a lot of mixed signals too, but overall, everything is confirmed weak. Now, what I really look to for whenever this is aligned on a monthly time frame, whenever I get signals, I can increase size, have conviction and confidence that the long positions are going to really work. When I get a great setup, which, by the way, I have a speculative stock right now that's really nice. It's really nice. I can't believe how well. It's the one stock I'm long right now. Platinum members know which one. It looks great, right? But there's no volume on the move recently, and actually the PPO and TSV on the shortest time frame, the daily, are not confirming the setup. That being said, if the volume and price action does start breaking out, everything's going to flip, and it's a beautiful chart setup. The bottom line is, though, with the market poor, it's not that great of an overall setup due to the conditions in the market. Now, if everything's lined up and I get that speculative long trade setup, but this time it comes with a surge in volume with all of that beautiful max green bop and excellent price action, yeah, we start increasing size. We have conviction. We hold for big profits and ride it higher. Stock examples last year of stocks with beautiful setups that worked, ARWR in February. Since we're on a weekly, we can go ahead and show it there, right here, and what it did here. And WTRG, can't quite remember. I need to go back to the daily to see the volume surge right there. So you can see what WTRG did to those highs, 20+% in a utility stock off the November lows. And then ARWR, let's go back to what it did in February on a daily. That's funny how it looks here. God, it looks so funny there. It doesn't look right. But either way, oh, there it is. That's why, because it's over there. RWR, as you can see, 200 and nearly 40% gain in right around, what is that, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 months. So whenever we get setups where everything is in alignment, we can really push it when this time frame is in alignment. And as you're about to see, currently is not. You can see the PPO on a monthly time frame, lead lines below the signal line. Histogram is bearish on the SPY, and we're below the signal line, even though we are above the zero line on the SPY. Now, if this line gets above this signal line, the same thing happens on a weekly time frame, and we have that on a daily time frame, and I get those proper ZM-like setups where we're at the 921, we got the tight squeeze, the candle over candle, heavier above average volume, bop going in the right direction, bam, we push size, we increase, we get more confidence, we have tight stops, but we expect the stocks to work with my setups. In this market, nothing's lined up. But the one thing that's definitely not happening right now are good solid signals. I told members in the video lesson I made earlier this weekend, I looked at over 3,000 stocks this weekend whenever I was doing my evening scans following Friday's session. Out of those 3,000, I wrote down 8 stocks that had quote, quote, tight patterns. And I'll just show you some because they're garbage, the companies. GLG. See this pattern here, how tight it is? I don't have that in very many stocks. COE. This is even sloppy compared to how it was trading before. By the way, long signal was issued here. Triggered, did not fill on my end. Over 100% gain. Does all the members remember that one, by the way? Everybody remember that? So that was even in February, before the market crashed, right before, 100% gain in a short-term move. I just couldn't get filled because of how thin the stock was, which is why you sometimes want to give yourself a 1% porosity from your stop level to your limit level. But the bottom line is, monthly time frame, what I'm trying to show this member that requested this lesson, negative, negative, negative. No reason to be super bullish just yet. But when it turns, oh man, good things happen. It's hard to see here. Let's see if I can get out here. Show the 90s. Look at this in the 90s. See whenever it trends above the monthly TSV signal line, great things happen. Then, of course, still overall trending higher, that signal line. Good things happening to 2000. And then notice how it stays below the signal line and sells off until right around the 2003 bottom. Then we get that bottom and start to rally again. Notice that TSV line. Things are pretty good here still. And then, of course, once again, trends lower below the signal line. We have our last bear market. And then how we're back above it and we trend higher, the 2009 bottom. This thing has done a great job in our most recent last uptrend, that 2017 year, where we had plenty winners. We not only came out of a tight squeeze on a monthly time frame and ran, the PPO and TSV confirmed it. But right now, we're not there. The DIA, we're not there. Downtrending, negative histogram. PPO trend momentum's going the wrong way. IWM monthly, boy, we even have negative TTM Squeeze momentum. Downtrending, TSV, not even looking remotely to turn higher. PPO lead line is now below the 0 line, negative histogram. And the QQQ on a monthly basis. Here's the one semi-bright spot. It's very hard to see here. Let me go ahead and shrink this up. Increase this a little bit. But the PPO line, you got to look over to the left. The PPO is at 7.64. The EMA is at 7.75. So it's technically still below it. So on a monthly time frame, it is below it now. We have a negative histogram. But the one thing I want you to notice on the TSV, it's almost ready to cross above that signal line. So if on a monthly time frame, we can get this green line to get back above this red line, that'll be a start of very good news. But then we have to then come down to the next time frame, the weekly. We look at the weekly. Once that then is confirmed, you then wait for the daily. And if the daily looks like this, whenever the weekly and monthly is positive, you know that we're in the most ripe period of time to really push it with new long positions in the proper setups. But we can still have proper setups when things aren't lined up. I'll remind everybody, 2019, remember that ARWR example, the COE example, and the WTRG example we just went through in 2019? That can still happen with the negative monthly TSV and signal line. I just need to have the right sound, technically tight patterns. And like I said, GLG might be one of the best ones out there. And you can better believe that this is not a high quality stock, hence why it's under $2. It's also Chinese. And so this is just not a stock that I would be completely interested in, especially ahead of earnings. Now, if earnings were out of the way, I believe that they're next month. Maybe I would look at something like this. But even then, I have to go and I see that it's in a squeeze, medium, tight, back to medium. But the momentum is trending lower. So not even everything's lined up here. But I just want to show you what a tight chart would look like if I had more of these. I don't have those. This is what I have. Really? Look at how this one traded in 2017, then 2018, 2018 to 2009, and then once again we get 2020 highs, and then whee, right back up. It's insane, folks. Until I get more handles, more consolidations, more quiet chart patterns that look like GLG, you can be sure. Oh, sure, now my telechart doesn't want to work. Good time to end the video. Well, okay, now it's working. You better, I'm going to be safe. I'd rather be safe than sorry, I should say. All right, everybody, I'm going to go ahead and wrap the video lesson up there. If you liked it, give me a thumbs up. If you didn't, thumbs down. Comments, questions, concerns, anything you want to say, go ahead and post them below. If you haven't hit the subscribe button, hit the subscribe button. All right, see you in the chat room on Monday if you're a member. Aloha.